Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another scene from the living world of darkness, Rage Across New York. This particular scene will find 10 Point in the Umbra about one of her more bearable daily tasks. And in the wake of her morning of uh, going about the sept, working as usual, she has collected several handfuls of seed and, as usual, tucked them into her swag. And as usual, is at the wandered to a particular point in the park where many an old resident of New York comes to cast out bread or whatever offerings for the pigeons, and thankfully they are Tellurian side and she is not. But nonetheless, it means that many, many pigeons and by extension related spirits gather in this area. So, at a very familiar point, probably by a particular lamppost or the like, she will go ahead and emerge in the umbra into this grand open space and this bevy of pigeons, and will draw out the bag and begin scattering her offerings and kind of let them do their thing.
Okay. And the after a while, one of the pigeons will greedily devour, consumers that they are. And yeah, until they're addressed, they'll just keep pecking.
Yep, she'll let them gather and have a minute, sort of, to enjoy what she's brought before asking anything of them, because it seems impolite to interrupt a meal. So she'll let them get through the better part of it, and then if there aren't already several on her, we'll go ahead and crouch down to be on their level. You know, very passive behavior all in all. You know, kind of probably has her arms about her knees as she crouches there. And we'll address the whole, kind of letting them choose who wants to answer. And simply say, "Little brothers, I come again asking you for a favor, if I may."
And they simply regard you with their beady orange eyes.
There are many of you here, many about the sept. I was wondering perhaps if a flock of you would be willing to keep near to where my pack resides, keep around our cabin, and in exchange my pack offers proper feeding, cheeses, breads, and we ask simply that if other spirits, perhaps prompted, take over much interest in our cabin, in our pack, that you simply tell us what you see.
A pigeon, one of them, the one that was perhaps looking at you most intently, flies over to the unreflection of a garbage a garbage bin and starts pulling things out of it. It pulls out rinds of meat, an apple core, bits of bread, half a sandwich.
She kind of nods understanding.
And it just keeps pulling stuff out.
It does seem that you have ample forage of your own. Is there something else you might wish in exchange, friend?
10 Point feels a very distinct rush of fear. Something, the shadow falls over her. The shadow of, well, not Balian, but the original people who beat her. You hear the keening snap of the belt.
Well, I'm just gonna roll a thing. Don't mind me. It's always nice to be informed how well you respond to certain stimulus. It helps if I'm in the right. I'm really good at rolling in the OC. So even with a fairly high difficulty, she keeps it together, albeit just barely. Every hair on her body kind of snaps out. Her posture changes immediately to
What you then see in the pigeons flutter into the air, and as their wings and as they flock, their wings seem to form a shadow play. You see the individual behind you, the vague humanoid shape coming for you, and what you see is not how 10 Point would ever view herself, of course, but a romanticized version of 10 Point, a Fianna hero crowned by Stag himself, charging and smashing aside this tyrant. And now 10 Point doesn't have hooves, but this figure does, trampling this tyrant.
do they depict the tyrant as something like applicable to them, like a hawk, or do they mean
Well, it
like,
does look more like Balian than anything else.
oh, she actually does take a couple extra seconds to study this, trying to determine if they're, using something she would understand to represent something else, because surely they don't want her to do such a thing to someone in higher position than she. And when it doesn't seem to resolve into anything else, she takes an expression of concern and looks to them and simply questions, because she's realized that perhaps she doesn't question enough. Why would you ask this of me?
They look at you quizzically again. And you feel the fear again. You can see that when you feel the fear, the pigeons all around you get twitchy, clearly aggravated, ruffling their feathers.
You wish me to vanquish my own fears?
The pigeons. Let me think of how they'd. One of the pigeons soaring above your head craps on 10 Point's head.
She blinks.
Do you need to roll intelligence enigmas?
I think I do. I'm trying, but you know what? That might just be the better part of valor. Let me scroll. All right. Rolling. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Spirits communicating in concepts, thoughts, feelings, images that you understand. It's showing a hero that resembles 10 Point vanquishing a tyrant, but the thing that's presenting the images to you is not 10 Point. It is the pigeons itself. The pigeons have shown themselves to have abundant food, but 10 Points does not, I'm as well as not aware of economics and grand scales of geography and these kind of things.
She's not.
However, she has seen many parts of the world, and she's not seen anything like the number of birds of prey that she's seen in New York City.
when all of this was, well, actually, you know what? Can
It has the
she?
highest density of falcons in the world.
It really does, and actually, that's a pretty fucking good point. God damn it! Why didn't I make that correlation? Okay, yeah, she will actually, as this is happening, kind of take a moment and mull over it, and kind of cast a glance to the sky because, yeah, I mean, even from Central Park, it's in the middle of the city. I imagine she would have seen a lot of them wheeling by.
In the distance, not here, but you can see one rising on the thermals over the city. And then you look again and you can see another and another. And you see, when you look, properly look, you see how many there are.
Oh boy. And yeah, she actually is going to do what I'm doing. And while she's looking at this, like one of her hands kind of creeps up and covers her mouth, just kind of tightly.
Kind of awkward, she's got a muzzle.
Hey, she's an Hamid.
Oh, are you? Okay.
She figures the pigeons appreciate a non predatory appearance. It's an
Uh,
assumption,
yeah,
probably
it's,
based off of doves, really, as that is a thing they have. Pigeons, not so much.
mhm.
Then it's a lot easier to scatter skeet with hands, so. But yeah, she just kind of holds that hand up, like one crossed across her chest, holding the elbow, and the other kind of covering her mouth as she looks into it and just begins to realize, as you know, as you spot one and then a tiny bit of motion that may be further away catches another and another and another.
What you then see is what the pigeons show you next is of a great battle between Garu and of one not far from the city as several in white coats, white pelts stand broken before a mottled army of rats and pigeons. Atop the greatest of Falcon's children, um, is 10 Point, crushing the life out of it with her hands.
Oh boy. And she just, I'm not going to sit here for the whole time, but she really does go silent. And the longer this goes and the more clear it becomes, the kind of the quieter and stiller and more tense she gets as she thinks over what's being presented. And for the moment, is left to not refuse necessarily, but perhaps not now, accept. And she will this time kind of apologetically offer a bow of her head. I will, of course, protect you when you are here, when I am able. I would happily stand between you and the stoop of a falcon. But before I make this promise, I must speak to my packmates. For I feel that this has far greater impact. And there's no use in having my pack looked over if it immediately rips itself apart. I promise you, though, that if you are chased, I will see. At least here. And I will stand between you and what hunts you.
The pigeons now a pigeon has a normally quite vapid face.
Oh, yeah, they do.
However, they give 10 point. If a pigeon could give an incredulous look, like,
Oh, she doesn't
in
even
fact,
blame them.
several of them just fly away into the sky. At the suggestion that you will protect them from the falcons.
I am sorry, but this is a deal I cannot accept without thought.
The pigeons coo at you and go back to the seeds you scattered earlier.
Yep. And she'll, politely, in so much as one can be polite to a pigeon, we'll go ahead and cast what little she has left in her little drawstring bag and go ahead and slip away, as she often does after feeding. And we'll go to think over the implications of what will happen if she takes this deal. So, with that lovely turn, I think I'll say thank you, players, for playing and watchers for watching. And we will see you next time on The Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York.